All right, so hey guys, today we are joined by folk singer Dave Bixby, best known for his 1969 album Ode to Quetzalcoatl. On top of that, Dave has lived a life far more large and intense than most people could ever imagine, from creating some of the best folk music ever, in my opinion, entering the void on psychedelics, and joining a Christian cult. Dave has definitely lived a full life. All right, so Dave, um, I guess my first question would be, what drew you to starting music when you were younger, and
Oh, that's a
specifically
good
guitar?
question. Uh, my dad got me a guitar, and back then nobody knows the music back then, but the Kingston Trio was a
Mhm.
folk group, and Peter, Paul, and Mary. Uh, Bob Dylan was about to
Mhm.
make an appearance in this stage. Uh, so I learned chords to many of those songs, and I was in a little group of three people. Our shirts matched, and I think we were like 15 or so years old. And we got on television and we played at pool parties. And uh, so that I enjoyed having an audience. And I like that feeling of not so much speaking, but playing music and having people appreciate it. I didn't start writing anything until after I came out of a bummer with LSD and spent some time in the void, which about a year, where it's kind of like you lose your soul. You're an empty body walking around. The value of life goes away. Depression, a lot of anxiety, tons of anxiety, feeling nothing. We're used to feeling something. We're creatures of substance. So when you find yourself in the void, which is nothing, we don't know how to handle it. If the brain cannot handle infinity, and that's what it is when you're in it. Now, when you come out of it, you're finite again. But I re after about a year, I bent my knee with some humility and uh, experimented with a prayer. It's the first time I ever prayed, and I wasn't sure who or what I was talking to, but I really felt like I was being listened to. I was being heard, and my fear and my hopelessness was being heard, and that gave me a little bit of peace out of all of that darkness. And slowly but surely, well, actually, it didn't take too long where I started coming around. I was healthy again. It wasn't like uh, a quick thing or a magic thing. It's just all of a sudden I recognized who I was, and I felt like I had a new spirit and I had a new life. And that David was somebody else. I'm a different David. If you can, step back and look at that for me. And that started my journey. I started writing music. It just started pouring out of me. I knew a number of chords and minor seventh chords and bar chords and playing electric guitar. I went for, just when Bob Dylan went electric, so did I. And right now I play a hollow body Gibson because it's electric and it's easy to play physically. If you're going to play a concert or for a long period of time, your fingers don't hurt. And it's because it's hollow body, it still has somewhat of acoustic sound to it. So
Mhm.
my concerts sound like the record. And there was a lot of echo at the time when we recorded it. They just came out with a tape recorder that had a second recorder head and a loop back so you could control an echo. And at different speeds, tape speeds, you'd get the different types of echo. And on the fastest, which I think is 7.5 inches per second, You get the best echo and you get better high end. So it's a good way if you're going to do music to get a good audio recording, do it on on the highest speed you can do it with. So that I was, I felt uncomfortable in the studio because I was used to having an audience. And that was what, that and the echo is what made Quetzalcoatl so eerie and
I
lonely.
agree that the
It's
echo is everything on
It's
that.
just, yeah, it's just a lonely sound. You're walking through a tunnel or next to a cliff, and you're getting this echo, which really carried out the guitar, and uh, it mostly showed up in the good for me. You know, I play without it, I play with it, and I'd rather play with it because when you get done with a chord or strumming what you're strumming, the echo carries that music a little bit even into the next chord. So it feels more like an orchestra, if you will. So that's my experience with the record. But I'll back up a little bit. I got ahead of myself. You wanted to talk about religion.
Mhm.
And I got involved. At, when my prayer was answered, I was praying to Christ, hoping that it wasn't a bunch of crap that everyone, because you want there to be a God, you talk yourself into it. And after taking a lot of acid, I can see how I could easily fool myself into thinking, people come back from a trip and they say they saw God. You can't see God. You can see the creation. That's the evidence of God, but you can't really see God. So you can have an experience with uh, the dimension that we live in, this 3 dimension on a planet that's spinning through space. And that started my music, and all the music was. Then I started reading the Bible. I read it before. I couldn't work. I didn't get it. It was a boring thing, and it was thick. I thought, oh, I'll never get through this. Especially starting with the Old Testament, and some of those books are genealogy. That'll drive you nuts. You'll get anxiety just reading all that. But this time, when I picked up the Bible, I went to right to the Jesus part in the New Testament, where the letters are red. They put a red ink on what Jesus spoke. The words that he spoke were in red. So I just started reading that. Uh, and I had kind of a personal experience that let me know I got evidence. That's what I wanted was evidence of Christ. Is it just a story? Or is it something if he rose from the dead, where is he? And if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
And
did.
if the disciples experienced him after he died, why can't I? Why can't you? Why can't anybody have this experience and not get stuck in a religion? The experience is spiritual freedom. The religion is like being in a box or a corral of sheep. And religion has its pitfalls. It's got a lot of like the Christian religion really has a lot of attributes. If you follow some of that stuff or all of it, your life on earth will be better. And if there is a life after death, then you've done what it takes to earn that, or you don't really earn it. It's of grace. It's a gift. But making the choice to make that commitment, and that's what really scares a lot of religious people. The experience of God is frightening, and what's going to be asked of you, most people cannot would not give that up. They're looking at it as giving up something. They don't know what they're going to get to fill it up. Look, we are a glass of stagnant water. You got to dump it out to get fresh water, and there's no guarantee you're going to get it. So you don't want to dump out what you that's all you got. So faith is a step of dumping out your your old self, so to speak. It's kind of like a death. It's a
Mm.
spiritual death. Um, and that's when the music started to flow. I found that when I talked to people who were in trouble, we had a lot of people flipping out from acid, a lot of people going crazy back then, and there was no place to go to get help. And we had veterans coming back from Vietnam that were suicidal, and uh, they would kill themselves after they got home. And that happened in in the Desert Storm and in the Gulf War and all of that. These guys come home and do themselves. So uh, that's the void. If you here's all you need to know about the void if you find yourself in that place is that don't try and get out because you can't. The good news, and if you spend energy trying to get out, it makes it worse and it takes forever. You'll never get out, but you can go through it. And the only way to go through it is to choose, consciously choose it, because when you're getting the void, it's something you don't choose. It just happens to you. But well, you chose it by making stupid decisions. And so it was a kind of an awakening for me. So to me, religion, uh, when you have a spiritual experience or an encounter or an epiphany or a aha moment, if you talk about it too much and you write it down, somehow it loses its spiritual ability and it becomes a religion. And that's your story. And you stop growing because you've created a religion now. That's your religion. Uh, Now, the Christian religion, if you're lost, that's a good place to go. Okay. But that's only the first step. And a lot of people stop right there. They stop at knowing and they never go beyond the having the experience. When you have an experience, you have a testimony. Now, on the back of my album, here's Quetzalcoatl,
Mm.
and then here's my testimony. And basically, I tried to say in a non-Christian verbiage that um, I made a covenant with Christ, the real Christ, the living Christ, not the story, but the living Christ. And I'm being blessed now, talking to you, doing the interviews, going all over the world, doing stuff. And the story doesn't end with me. I go on. I had a near-death experience with a shipwreck, and we can talk about that maybe in another, because that's kind of long. And that to me was probably it turned me inside out. I was living inside a body. Now I'm around me. I'm outside of myself. Go ahead. I think you got a question.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, was this during the journey on the Colorado River to Baja, California?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was just reading about that on your bio on your website. But I guess a question I had is like, what was the specific turning point when you were in the void that led you to go towards religion as a way to find your way out of it?
Uh, Well, let me say this again. I didn't go into religion. I had a spiritual experience.
Mm.
And what desperation is what led me to pray. I didn't know if and I was afraid there wasn't a God. I mean, I wanted there to be a God. I need help. I'm broken. There's got to be a creator. I don't have a factory warranty that I can fix myself, and no one else does either. This is a spiritual problem which looks like a mental problem and it looks like an emotional problem, a lack of emotion, which is an emotion and it's not a good one. It's fear. So I'm kind of getting lost here, but uh, I was operating. We say we have a spirit or we have a soul. We don't have a soul. We have a body. The soul is more who you are than your body is. But we're used to looking at this world through these eyes, and there's an unseen dimension that we're in uh, that we don't know about. Can't hear it, can't see it, can't taste it, but it's there. If you look at every Buddha and different religions, there's always uh, a moment when you're outside of your body. And I guess that's what people have on acid is all your programming and your identity falls away. Now either you freak out and it's a terrible experience, you're flipping out, or you love it because a newness is coming out. And it's all depends on if you're willing to let go. If you're not willing to let go, it's a horrible experience. If you're willing to let go, you've got the greatest adventure that you'll ever take, and you can continue that adventure. And that's called being aware that you're a spirit. And the only way to have this for me was to have an encounter with Christ and have a healing on the inside. I was all the acid and stuff rewired me. I was very confused, and I had a hard time making sense talking to people. I couldn't hold a job. It was hell for me. And so when I got my answer, which was very subtle, but it made a big difference in how I felt and how I saw life. And it didn't take long for me to become whole again and to feel that I'm functional. I understand what you're saying. I can communicate. You can but music was the only way I could communicate at first. As far as uh, the metaphor of the music is the spiritual part. I play guitar. That's what I am as a guitar player. Who I am is on the music. It's in the music. It's in the song. That's who I am. But what I am, I'm a body doing all the guitar stuff to get the music to put the message on. And so I could say stuff with music that I can't say in words in English language. I can come close sometimes if I meet a person who's had an experience like that. We can kind of communicate right away. And that's because we're communicating on a spiritual level and it's working out on a physical level too. We're getting value out of the conversation. I know what you mean. I never heard it said that way, but thank you. I know exactly what you. I've known that all my life. I forgot it. So I'm not saying anything new to anybody. Revelation is maybe just remembering where you came from before you were born and where you go to when your body is done. This is you're like a captain of a ship that's a vessel. Your body is a vessel. You're the captain. And if you don't know how to steer it or you're not steering it at all, just let it go wherever it wants. You get whatever. That's where you're going to find yourself in the void. You're out of course. You're heading towards the rocks. Uh, because your father was like that and his father was like that. There's no reason to change. You just stay on a course that you're going to crash. Or you could repent, which means to turn. It doesn't mean to cry and all of this kind of stuff. It means to just turn and take a different direction. And if you can get a course, Christ is a way of getting your direction. Uh, Holy Ghost is like a teacher that works with your emotions and your thinking. So you can have a relationship with Holy Ghost or Holy Spirit, however you want to call it. And that's that unseen kingdom or that unseen world that we don't know about. Uh, Once you have this experience, you'll realize as a child, you've always had it. God is nothing new. It's just that you forgot in the process of being born and living on earth, you forgot who you were, what you were. You thought that was who you were. And that's the transformational side. of coming in contact with Christ is who you were goes away. And it can be very uncomfortable. And that's why a lot of people don't take that journey because it is uncomfortable. So religion is the next best thing. Follow me?
Mhm.
Now, I've gotten stuck in religion. So I know the pitfalls, how cults, Christian cults, just pop up everywhere. Uh, young people in my time in 1969, the church was losing young people to these evangelists that would start these little groups, home groups, Bible studies, that kind of thing. And these guys became gurus. Uh, they became a cult where they called the shot. They did all the thinking for you. Now, lazy, spiritual lazy people are cult bait. They get caught up in cults because it's scary to make a decision and they want somebody to tell them what to do. And I've been in a place where I wish somebody would come along and tell me what to do. So I can understand how you can easily slip into a cult. Cult leaders are no good without cult followers. And the cult followers actually make the leader. Somebody's going to pop up and go, "Yeah, I'll control you." A narcissist usually. And so, you got any more questions?
Um, like how when I know you don't know you're in a cult when you're in a cult, but most of the time at least. But what led you to realizing that this was not working out anymore and you needed to get out?
The first awareness was that I had to lie to myself to stay there. Okay.
Mm.
Spiritually, I got everything to get out of that experience, but I didn't move on because I didn't know where to go next. I would have left a lot sooner. I started seeing things that I ignored about the cult and about the cult leader. Mostly, I watched him transform to a very sincere person who cared about other people into a master who had a harem of women and a bunch of stupid men to follow him with the and using the Bible as a way to imprison. There's scriptures in there that separate you from your family, and Jesus meant it in a positive way. But they can use these scriptures to get you away from your family because now the cult becomes your family, just like the military. When you're a Marine, you're always a Marine. That's your second family. It might even be your first family. These guys are coming back from Nam, and their families they didn't. The wife was afraid of her husband, and the kids, you know, they saw him going nuts, and it made them upset. So he couldn't be a father, and there was no help from the VA for these guys at that time. There is now. How effective it is. They're still killing themselves. So I don't. The suicide's an odd thing. Nobody knows exactly how to prevent it. You can be somebody can be all right for years, and all of a sudden one day, boom, they hit that something triggers. There's a trigger going on there, and I wondered if I had a trigger because I've had those thoughts, and I've had people that were thinking suicide want to talk to me for just no reason. They were just attracted to me and they started talking about it. I said, well, I've been thinking about that too, because you don't talk about it. Now, there's different levels. If you can be in a place in the void where you don't want to be in reality anymore. You don't want to kill yourself. Okay. But you don't want to be here. So death looks like relief. Uh, and there's a point in time we do have a mechanism that stops us, and if you live on that side most of the time, and that's that spirit, that soul, because your body is empty, it's been freaked out, and distorted. So you need this reunion spirit to recharge you and rebuild you and having so you can live out a life that's worth living. So that happened to me. So I don't know that I've had those thoughts for a long time. Um, and when you decide, when you have a plan how to do it, that's when it's serious. And I talk to a lot of people that are suicidal and that read the they listen to the record and they want to get a hold of me and they tell me I was in a dark place. I found your record through a friend of mine. When I listened to it, I felt better, or it got me through the darkness. And that's exactly what I'm saying. So coming back around, this testimony on the back of the album, I acknowledge Christ. And so now Christ is acknowledging me. And I have a wonderful career in music in my retirement years. And I've always played cover tunes and made money with music. I was also a carpenter. Um, that Now I get to travel around the world and talk about these things. People want to know, what was it like in my day before computers and smartphones and all this electronic stuff that uh, you get addicted to. Uh, it's a substitute for real relationships. I think my Facebook people are friends. you know,
Yeah.
that's an
Yeah.
illusion. It's you know, and so uh, uh, you asked me how I got um, from the void to here. Is that what the question was?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's stepping into the light, coming up out of the darkness, giving up my life here. It's no good anyway. Give up my friends, give up, and I've had to give up church friends when it was time to grow. And I got stuck in religion, and I've gotten stuck in religion because it's comfortable. You can hide out. You can't hide from the real thing. And so you can play Christian and have no transformation in your life, and you don't experience that guidance that comes with having a real relationship. So you got to get your guidance from the Bible, and there's good guidance in there. But I notice even in myself, you can know something and not have it working in your life. You can know something and not be able to get it to work in your life. Uh, uh, Prayer. Let's just use that for an example. What if they did? What if your prayers don't get answered? Now, is there nothing there, or are you asking the wrong thing? And it's a lot of times you're asking the wrong thing. And the thing is to not ask for things. Ask for new attitude, new viewpoints, new experience, subjective, a new emotion, feeling better, feeling love, uh, letting go of the negative stuff that your dad taught you, and some of the stupid stuff you learned from your buddies in school. You know, that doesn't work all the time. Uh, so on my way out of the void, and I've had to visit the void several times, and each time I lie about it. I pretend it's not happening, and I get busy with music or something else to avoid the void. And you can't avoid the voids. So what I'm telling you, and what I have to follow myself, is when you find yourself in that empty spot, you need to stop and say so. Get honest with yourself. Look in the mirror. Go, I'm depressed, and I don't want to take a look at what's depressing me. There's obviously something you need to look at that you're lying to yourself about. And because you won't do it, it turns into depression. Well, as soon as you turn and face your fear, you know as well as I do, when you deny it, the fear gets bigger, turns into a monster. But if you face it, you'll realize that you're bigger than your fear and you rise above your fear. It doesn't mean you don't have fear. You still got the fear, but you've outgrown it. And that's what it is to be a man, to have fear, but don't let it run you. Go forward anyway, in spite of your fears in business, in a relationship. Everything you do that goes takes you in the future can take you down a different road. What if you take the wrong road? So now you got a fear, you know. And what I'm saying is, when you step out in faith and face your fear, everything you need is on the path. At the starting point, you don't have what you need to succeed. You don't have it. So you stay there until you get it. But you'll never get it because it's on the way. You got to go down the road, get some education, maybe find some people uh, that can open doors for you. Learn how to open doors for yourself. Get rid of attitudes that keep you from being successful. Uh, your fear can talk you out of a lot of good stuff. And
Definitely can.
if you can go, if you can transform fear, it'll turn into adventure. Instead of dreading the feeling that you're having, now you're excited to go forward. So instead of having it cripple you and stopping you and making you run away, and you lose respect every time you do that for yourself. Once you turn and face it, it feels so good. All of a sudden, you like who you are. You fell out of love with yourself somehow, and you despise yourself, and you can't. You drink, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Those are ways to take you on a little side journey, so to speak. Uh, and eventually, you take a look at all the guys at my age, bands that were taking drugs really heavily and drinking. They were alcoholics. Today, they have families and they've gotten past their addictions and they're quite a different person. And all of that stupidity turned into wisdom. All of those foolish things, because once you realize you're a fool, that's the first step towards wisdom. And if you can stay in wisdom or access it, and that's through Christ, I don't know any other way, uh, then you can make decisions that'll be close to who you are, for a career, for a wife, for a family, for your family and friends, employment. Uh, it, it affects all of that, and you can navigate. So these stumbling stones become stepping stones. And that's why you got to face your fear. You'll never take that journey if fear runs you. And so I guess that's kind of what I've learned in a nutshell. Look at my gray hair, my baggy eyes, and my wrinkles. That's life. And I've been kicked around by fears to the point where I got mad at myself for being such a coward. And I started taking on some fears, which gave me the confidence to take on more. And the Bible talks about the armor of Christ and knowing what not to do when you take martial arts. They teach you how to kill somebody, but they also teach you how to not ever get into a situation where you have to do that. That's the spiritual part of being able to walk your walk and not even have to use this uh, technique to defend yourself, because you just don't get into those situations because you're getting good guidance. You got wisdom, and you might know people like that. And you wonder why does life work for them and it's not working for me? Well, take a look at how they operate. Um, do they want satisfaction right now, or are they willing to be patient? Do they have that patience? Um, and know that you might be lost now, but you won't be lost forever. Things come together and things fall apart. It's a cycle. To me, I go through the void as a cycle. I'm not so sure if it's a clinical situation with me or if it's situational, yeah, clinical is it's like in cycles. So I can, it's like a period for a man.
Mhm.
Okay. You go through like, well, it's a month where you just don't feel good at all. You're grumpy. Uh, you're pissed off. You're real touchy. You got anxiety. Things aren't working. You're getting into verbal conflict with people. You stop. That's a signal. That's a red flag. Once you learn what, see, I'm old enough to know where the red flags are when they're coming up. And I go, okay, I know what this is. I know what to do. I need to get humble. I need to repent. I've lied to myself somewhere. What am I afraid of? Anger is a cover up for fear. If you have anger going on, don't go to anger management and don't do anything to try and change that anger. Leave it alone. Ask the question, what am I afraid of? And be willing to face what you're afraid of. And that anger will go away quite quickly. You'll be amazed that how good you feel by getting honest. And now you're good with the earth, okay? You're good with the universe. You're good with the creator. You're in line, okay? You are where you're supposed to be. And it's a nice feeling. Peaceful, very peaceful. And out of a life of trauma, of going through all this stuff and learning what I'm telling you, um, I'm not a joyful man, but I am peaceful. I've found peace. That's fine with me. If I never get anything else as far as spiritual awareness, uh, uh, I think I can make it. I can have when I die, I'll be ready. I won't have any regrets on what I did or didn't do in my lifetime. And right now, I do have some. So I'm working on that. I don't want to die. Uh, I'm at the age now where I can see my end. It's down the road. Now, what do I want to do between now and then? And I can ask you the same question, although you're not close to aged death. What do you want to be and where do you want to go with the amount of time you have while you're come into the world and when you go out of the world? And that sets you up for a vision. You might not get it right away. Usually you get a vision when you get more experience and you can look back and go, oh, that's that's why that happened to me. I that's my fault. I thought it was them doing it to me, and I was a victim. And I'm the one that ignored them or offended them or had an attitude that they didn't like uh, to bring that to me. I don't know why for me, but when I had this experience, I had the worst experience with Christians. I mean, one right after another, where they were liars, they were arrogant, they were mean. They came out of seminary school and they wanted to beat you up with the Bible. They didn't even bother to get your name. They could care less. I thought, what are these colleges, Christian colleges, what are they producing? A really low level of people that have a lot of problems. And uh, and I and work on them in my professional area. I do business outside of the church with Christians. Most of them broke their agreements. They didn't even think it was important to keep an agreement. They were just telling you what you wanted to hear so they could get something from you. And I used to install kitchens, countertops and cabinets. And the contractor wants me to go to his church and speak in tongues, and then he doesn't pay me. And I confront him. You're trying to sell Jesus to me, and now you're ripping me. You're stealing money from me. And I had 3 jobs right in a row with different men that were Pentecostal Christians, and every single one of them stuck it to me. And I had to move out of my house and live on my boat. I mean, I, I couldn't absorb the loss. And so I wondered what it is about me that has attracted that. because I see other people have a wonderful time with Christianity. They're satisfied, they're happy where they're at. Uh, some of these people have a soul. They know the spiritual part. They've gone beyond the Bible. Okay, when they go beyond the Bible, that's when you can relate. They're not giving you the testimony of somebody in a book. They got their own testimony. I'm giving you my testimony right now. These questions you're asking me, that's a testament. The Bible used to be called a testament. The New Testament, it's testimonies. There's a bunch of people in there who say they saw this. Some of it agrees. Some of it looks like it doesn't quite match. But then carpenters, fishermen, tax collectors, they all see life differently. And so I can see where the books, they're different, written by different people. And some of it doesn't agree. That doesn't bother me. That just proves that it's probably accurate. Uh, so you got these different testimonies you can draw from. Now, I didn't find Christ through that. I just prayed. You can cut that whole Christian thing out of. Just set it over here and get in touch. If there's something in Christianity or in the Bible that is necessary for your future, you'll just open up the Bible and start reading. Don't go to a Bible class. They're going to tell you what's in it, and that's their opinion. That may not be the truth at all. Read it for yourself, and when you run into these metaphors, uh, you got to stop and have a moment of clarity, of prophetic revelation to understand the metaphor. Because I hit scriptures. I go, wait a minute, you said this there, now you're saying this here. It doesn't match. Well, there's a metaphor that I have to get past that logic and go into where logic doesn't is not necessary. And the metaphor is subjective. Not everybody can understand a metaphor. And at first it's confusing because you don't understand it and you're learning something that's different than the way you think it is, the way your truth gets set aside by the truth. And so metaphors hold truths that open the doors. I can't read the Bible just reading through it. I have to have a dictionary. I stop almost every other verse and I got to look up stuff. And I get more enlightenment out of the dictionary than I do with the Bible. The Bible just gave me the questions and the words that I didn't understand. I had to look them up. And when I looked up these words, I got it deepened me as a person. And so that's kind of been my trip. Is there, how we doing on time?
Um, I think we're at like 40 minutes right now. I'm okay to go up to like an hour or so, if you
I
are.
can stop here if you have any questions about what I've said or
Um, let's see. I was just thinking one. So you had a lot of issues with a lot of people in the Christian church,
yeah,
but how often do you meet people that share your viewpoint or something similar at least?
it's rare, but I do find them. I've got two pastor friends who understand the Bible. They're very good at it, but they also understand there's the relationship. What I'm telling you about, they got that. They and they got it through religion. Okay, I didn't get it through religion. In fact, I lost it in religion because I didn't want to take responsibility. Christianity is you take responsibility to a degree, but then beyond that, you don't move. I know a lot of Christian churches. I went 2 years ago. I go to them again. They haven't moved an inch. They're still doing the same old thing, and they're even bored with themselves. It's like when they see me, they go, "How's it like out there? What's the world like? Where you been? What's going on? What's the buzz? What's happening?" You can tell that they're stuck. And I've had young men email me who've been brought up in a Christian church. They went to Christian college, and it just became empty for them. And they didn't want to admit that, because they thought they should They thought they were breaking some rules. And that's what religion is rules. What I'm talking about is principles. The principles are from the foundation of the earth, and it carries right on through. Now we make rules, and rules change, and there's exceptions to the rule, but the principles stay the same. Karma is a principle. You reap what you sow. Even if you don't understand what's coming to you and you don't understand, what did I do to deserve this? That's a good question. Oh, I did that. That's what Holy Spirit can bring up for you. Go, oh, guilty. I thought it was their fault. And here I've been, bitching at them and thinking negative of them and slandering them when I'm the one that started it. So what I'm working on, and I brought this up a couple times, is I've had so many negative experiences with Christians in and out of the churches. And what makes me an authority on this is when I got out of the cult, I started visiting different denominations throughout America. And when I was taking care of my parents, I would take my mom to different churches every Sunday. Some of them I'd stay for a month, some of them I'd stay for a year. But I got to see the difference between all the denominations, and they don't all agree. For sure, they don't agree. And most of them don't like each other. I mean, why would you want to go sit in the middle of that? You
I
know,
don't know.
you know what I'm saying?
I
Go
don't
out.
know.
I don't know how many times I left a church and just I was angry, and I don't even know what I was angry at. I felt so unfulfilled, and I'd pull over at a road that goes into a woods that I know of, and a little place I can go hang out and just sit there and trying to figure out what's going on. And I'll stop there, and what I was looking for in church, I got underneath a tree, like Buddha. Blink. When all of a sudden your life is different, you get it. You need an apple on the head once in a while. So near-death experiences will put you in touch with that. It doesn't last. Um, Look how I don't know if you recall this, but 9/11 brought our country together. We were all Americans. Uh, if you go back in history, the first Continental Congress, Benjamin Franklin, asked that we have a prayer before we start every meeting. And the Catholics and the Protestants hated each other and wouldn't accept each other. The Protestants wouldn't listen to a Catholic prayer, and the Catholics didn't want the Protestants praying. Look, that's religion. It stops the move forward. But when the bullets started flying, they were brothers. They dropped their religion. And I think that's what's happening now because I'm hearing some pretty good stuff come out of Christianity from young people. And a lot of Muslims are having dreams of Christ and leaving Allah and embracing Jehovah and leading up to Christ. Um, that's reassuring because I used to feel that the church was not an ally anymore, and I wanted it to be an ally. And I realized that I can't trust Christians. I don't trust Christians. So there's something about me that has attracted that because that's my experience, and it's kind of negative. And I kind of wish it wasn't. I don't want to be. Christianity has its place. It's a good religion. It's got the teachings. Uh, you can get lost in the religion part, but the teachings will lead you to the spirit. It'll lead you to that dimension that I'm talking about. That'll guide you through the rest of your life. It'll guide you with your family and your children. So you'll make uh, decisions that are beneficial to them. What else?
Um, I feel like a lot of people nowadays, at least, my generation, like have look at Christianity, going to church on Sunday as just kind of doing it because they have to.
Yeah,
Um, I,
obligation. It's
yeah,
obligation. They're obligated, and it's guilt.
that's what it always felt like when we had to go to church growing up,
Yeah.
because it didn't seem like anyone in my family really wanted to go, but we
Yep.
would always go every Sunday. And I'd have always just wondered why. I guess there is no answer as to why it feels that way or why we feel like we owe God that time. But
You leave with a guilt trip.
mm,
Like there's something wrong with you because you don't buy into what they're saying.
but I don't. I feel like God would not want us to feel that way
No,
about that at all.
no. And
Um,
that's the freedom. Once you understand that he doesn't, and it's okay to let go of that. And the next time you go to church, you don't go there to get something. You go there to give something. Okay. And if you have nothing to give, don't go. Uh, Read the Bible, don't read the Bible. You've already got a relationship. You started with prayer. And I don't know that you can have that without it. Near death experiences will sober you up. Uh, so, I don't know if I answered that question, but without getting real negative on Christianity, I'm talking about Christians. Yeah, I'm not talking about Christianity. Uh, I'm talking about how it's not happening. And what I see, it's not happening. And I see some movement now with young people, separate and apart from the church. They're finding their own way, and they're doing kind of what I'm prescribing here is let the Spirit lead. Do your own study. Do your own thinking. You don't need a guru. You've already got one. That's this Holy Spirit that the Bible talks about. And that's an experience you have. That's just not a concept or a story. Once you have that experience, you realize as a child, you've always had it. And this relationship was something that was there, but you weren't aware of it. Now you're aware of it. Okay. It's nothing, there's nothing new here. Um, you'll all of a sudden you remember who you were before you lived in your body, and your life will change. You got a different viewpoint of like a drone in the sky, that look at the information you can get by having a drone to take the bigger picture, uh, and where you can step away from it. I saw a thing with William Shatner from Star Trek. He was Captain Kirk,
mm,
and he went up in one of eons in a spaceship to get out of the orbit at I don't know how old he was, and instead of being elated by going into outer space, he felt sad. And they tried to explain it that here's this little spot of life and all the stuff that's going on. And then here's this void of nothing. And he used the word void. I go, all right, now you're talking. I know what you're talking about. And he hit the physical void of being off the earth. Now we can have a void being on the earth uh, inside us, in our brains and in our emotions and feelings. And so he came back with what nobody expected him to say. It's kind of negative. And he was something about the void that just was not a good experience for him. He didn't quite know how to say it. I don't quite know how to say it, but I've studied it and I found some things, some tools to work with it. It'll work with you, um, whether you like it or not.
mm,
So to get at cause, that's why I say face your fear. Now you've made a choice, and that choice gives you power. And everything you need to win that battle or to overcome that situation or to get out of that situation is on the way. So you got to start with nothing. And that takes courage and that takes faith. Simple as that. Now you can find it in the Bible, but you got to dig. It takes a long time to get it. What I'm telling you, I'm telling you because I've already dug through it, and these are some of the things I've found that work for me, and they happen. Obviously, there's something in the Quetzalcoatl record that's touching people. I forgot that record. I left it alone after getting out of this cult. I just dumped every song I made, and I quit writing. I didn't quit. My music was telling a new story. That's all. Uh, I went into doing radio jingles and I started playing cover tunes. I never really did my own stuff. I lived at the beach, lived out of my van, had a motor home, was able to play restaurants, everywhere. And I'd go to tourist destinations, Padre Island. And um, so uh, music took on a different thing. But then when this album was discovered because of collectors, and a journalist got a hold of me and told me it was worth $2,000 in Japan. And I just got a computer. I thought he was lying. And he said, "Do you have a computer?" I says, "Yeah, I'm not sure how to work it though." So he showed me how to go online and look up Dave Bixby, Ode to Quetzalcoatl. And I looked it up, and my God, I didn't, there I was. And here's the album. It survived me. It's got a life of its own, and it still does. I'm getting royalties now from it. That's a physical manifestation of a testimony I shared on the back of the album. It's about Christ, prayer and Christ, those two things. The rest of it, it just complicates it. And if you get that, you can go into a church and you can experience your own prayer and your own experience with Christ and not feel so empty. And people will come to you and they'll bring up stuff that they're thinking about, that is stuff that maybe you've just recently thought about, and you'll have something to share with them, or how you overcame something, or how you almost gave up on something because of discouragement or pain or loss. Uh, but through faith and this wisdom I'm telling you about, you navigated your way through it. And now all of that is an education to do what you're doing right now. So you don't, even if you make dumb decisions, your life is not wasted. As long as there's a switch. We're born selfish. You give two children one toy and watch what happens. They'll kill each other for that toy. So I think we're born with this rebellion, this dark spirit in us. That's yin yang. You got the dark, you got the light. There's a perfect you, and then there's a dark you. And Christianity doesn't really address that directly. So a lot of Christians don't think they have this dark side. And these two Christian pastors that ripped me off in the cabinet business, that's their dark side. And they're hiding in their religion while their dark side is running them. They're slaves to the dark side because they don't acknowledge that as them. They think it's somebody else doing it to them. And they'll be stuck in that until they go to their grave. They'll never experience what I'm talking about. So now instead of getting pissed off at people, I have pity for them. They did it to me, but somehow I deserved it. Maybe I got in the way. Maybe it's something I said. Maybe it's something I didn't say. Either way, I don't care. I'm going to take responsibility for this encounter, and not blame them and just own it. And all of a sudden, I get bigger than the problem. I get bigger than the fear. And now I'm realizing that these life experiences makes you grow. That's what growth is you get bigger than the problem you're feeling stuck all of a sudden. And transformation is you'll always be stuck, but you let go of that, and now you're unstuck. So the history, you were stuck, but now you're not. You're moving, and it, in the void, even outer space void, you don't know that you're traveling because there's nothing to compare it to. It's a void. There's nothing there. If there was something there, you could get a sense of that you're actually moving because it looks like it's moving, and maybe it is. But in the void, you have no reference point, so you feel stuck, and you feel like it's eternal. And what I'm telling these people that call me that are having difficulties with the darkness, go through it, man. Don't try and get out of it. Own it. Own it. You don't have to understand why. Just own it. and face it. Make a choice, make a conscious choice to face this darkness that you're running from. And I've had so many dreams where I was running from snakes and lions and different things. And as soon as I turned to face it, they got small or they became weak. Uh, so these dreams are spiritual dreams telling me that fear is going to make me want to run away. And when I catch myself doing that, and that's called consciousness, I turn around and embrace the negative. A car battery has a positive terminal and a negative terminal, and in between them is a fan motor, there's electric windows. In your car, all your electronic, the windshield wipers runs off of the power that goes through that. So if you unhook the negative, it doesn't work. So negative isn't necessarily bad. And if you can look at it that way, you can make the negative that's going to haunt you work for you. Instead of being a slave to it, it becomes a servant to you. And I don't have anything to describe that. I have to think what about what I just said, because there's some other ways to get that thought. And once you have it, you see life different after that. There's negative, there's positive, and then there's nothing. You got a third choice. You didn't have that before. And if you'll read what Jesus did when he was confronted by the Pharisees, they were dealing in black and white, yes or no. And he always found a third way. And Buddha called it the middle way. And so there's right, wrong, good and bad, then there's the other. And whatever that other is. And the only thing I can come up with is like algebra. You use an X because you don't know what the number is. And you can work if you have two pieces of information and you need that third, you can still work the problem using X. Now, I never quite understood that, but I think it's something like that. And the X is being, you don't have the awareness. Once you have the awareness, then X is gone and you can work the equation quite easily. But I don't even know if I have a good understanding of algebra, but that's my viewpoint. I made it into a metaphor. So negative is the yin yang. It's got black and it's got white. And the white is your spirit or your light, and the black is your dark side. And the rebel, the rebellion in you. Uh, and I don't want to use the word evil, but it is. We've all got it. And see, Christians think Satan and God are outside of them. But if you read the Bible, you'll realize that God is within. The kingdom of God is within. These are the words of Jesus. And Satan is within. So if you're getting really terrible thoughts that you feel are evil, just, it's easy to believe in this Satan thing, but really that's a part of you. And instead of making an entity outside of you, take responsibility for that darkness within you. And when you light a candle in a dark place, just a little bit of light fills up the darkness. It doesn't take a lot of light to fill up the darkness. Your phone, you can navigate through the darkness with your phone. This little device will light the way. That's a good metaphor too, internally and externally. You can actually physically see the ground, and you can work it. You can call for help. You can Google the situation you're in. There's so many things that can happen today with technology, and that's just that's a mirror image of the spirit world, or this unseen dimension that we walk through. That's where you go when you dream. At night, that's where you go. So, and that's in that you have to go through that after you die. So you're already trained. You just don't know it. So enjoy the ride, enjoy the excitement, the adventure of facing your fear and transforming it into adventure. Uh, be someone who gives, turn the switch from selfish to giving. I have to do it every day. I wake up selfish. I'm on the take. All right, what can I get out of this day?
Mm.
Wait a minute. What can I do for somebody else? What can I do that's healthy for myself? Maybe eating better food, or getting rid of a negative attitude that keeps bringing stuff into my life that I don't want. Um, Change the attitude, you change the experience. It's a sowing thing. You're sowing seeds, and we don't know that. And when it comes back, when you accept it, if you don't like it, accept it anyway. It belongs to you. It's in your life. It's in your head. You can't blame anybody else for what's in your head, including God and Satan, because you're going to hear the yin yang. You're going to get the voice of darkness and the voice of light, and you are the choosing agent between those two. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. You get lost here, you get found over here. Here you're stupid, here you're smart. Um, and you're both of those things. You got a right left brain. If you've ever studied right and left brain, your right brain is the creative, subjective uh, part. Your intuitive, your emotions, your feelings, all that's in right brain. Left brain is your checking account, your car, your physical things, your body. That's all the worldly stuff. So you've got two hemispheres that handle both dimensions, and they talk to each other. If before phones, I could see people talking to themselves in the car. Now we got cell phones and they're talking to somebody. But when you talk to yourself, that's that right brain, left brain. Now, I learned this the first time I took acid. It was under the care of a neurosurgeon, and he dissected a brain before we dropped. And he explained right and left hemispheres and showed us through with a scalpel. He opened up the brain and showed us the nerve pathway from the left to the right and the right to the left. It was made an X, and it was right in the center of both hemispheres. Uh, when somebody gets damaged in the left side, loses something, the right side can take over. They can do each other's job, so to speak, but they're dominant in the different things. So the right is subject, and the left is objective. It's the object. And a lot of people can't. A metaphor is subjective. Knowledge is subjective. Taking that knowledge and building a space shuttle, that's objective. Taking that knowledge and writing a song, being able to play the song on a physical thing, on a guitar, that's objective. I'm in the music, that's subjective. So once you get a feeling of that, you can kind of step outside of yourself and see that you're not your brain, you're not your mind. You can actually rise above that and watch. You're the observer, and that's what I hate. I'm not selling LSD, but the experience of LSD sometimes puts you in, gets you outside so you can look at it for the first time. And coming back into it, a lot of times you lose it. A lot of times you can bring this awareness with you. Uh, in this LSD trip that I took after we looked at this brain, I had an experience of my right left brain talking to each other. And it was kind of an argument. My right brain had an idea, and the left brain saying, "That's stupid. You don't have the money. You don't have the know how." Okay, I'll give it up. Uh, and the right brain goes, "You know what? I'm not going to give it up. I'm not going to listen to you." It's an angel on your shoulder. You got an angel and a devil. That little metaphor, and it's kind of like that. You're hearing both. Now the voice of the spirit is very quiet, and it's easy to overlook it when you're being spoken to. How many times do you get in trouble or something goes wrong and you say, "You know what? I knew better. I knew better. Somehow something came to me. to put me in, but I wouldn't listen to it. Your mind is really loud, your emotions are even louder. And then here's this still small voice of God, and here's this voice of Satan yelling at you, heavy metal music.
Hmm.
Yeah, you got these, and then here's Quetzalcoatl over here. Now, Quetzalcoatl was not for, those songs were not for entertainment. They were for soul searching. And that's what that whole album is about. It's lonely. Be lonely, be with the album. And I noticed something musically that I never knew while I was doing it is that I really didn't care for the album once I left it. I just dropped it. I didn't care for it because the songs were too slow. It wasn't really rock and roll. It was more of a ballad.
Mhm.
And so over the years, because I learned, because I played rock and roll to make money and played all these cover tunes, when I started learning my own songs again, I sped them all up. Okay, then I played them at concerts like that. Something was lost. Your brain waves are at 120 cycles per second. And that's the beat that usually rock and roll is in. That's when you want to start moving at that point. Below that, you want to kick back. All my songs are below that. So it's meditation music. It's soul searching music. It's kick back music. I don't know how many people said, I went on a trip and listened to your song. I was all by myself and I listened to your songs all the way there and all the way back. And it's a different frequency. And that's part of the success of the record. And the record's not for everybody. If you're not seeking and you don't give a crap about the truth and you like your life just the way it is, Quetzalcoatl is boring. It's a boring record. I don't see what people see in it. I'm giving that record to do concerts, and the concert people who never heard of me, nobody's going to listen to this stuff. It's not, it's not moving. You got to move it. Uh, so I put a metronome on my music to see where it was, and it was just way below that beat. And the songs that do move along, I'm double timing it. The beat is still slow, but I'm put dun 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 dun. So I'm putting two beats in this instead of one. So I can pick up songs and move it along if they need it, like 666. It can be done with a rock and roll band. I've had several rock and roll bands take some of my songs and rock them and do their own thing with it, and they do. It's fun to listen to that. And I see people try and copy me, and that doesn't work either. It's best if you're going to cover my songs, and they pick those songs up. Now the slow ones, people uh, definitely like Drug Song and Morning Sun.
Those are my first two that I heard.
Those two minister to people in a way that I don't even understand what it is other than that it's a slower frequency. Drug Song is about falling apart, and it's a tragedy. French people love tragedies. A lot of people listen to this in France because there's no happy ending to Drug Song. I just stop. I'm screwed and I'm out there in the universe broken, and I just end the song on a chord, and there's no hope in that song whatsoever. I start out with that, and then Free Indeed and Morning Sun. Morning Sun is like waking up to a brand new day, and it's like look out your window and see yourself walking through fields of love in the sky up above. It's like it's interdimensional. You leave your bedroom out your window into a field, watching the sun come over. All of a sudden in your head, you're out there. So it's a dimensional song, and I've had to look at it to see what it was that people liked about it, and I believe it's that. And there's so much brightness to the song of watching the sun come over the hill and laying in the grass and having this outdoor experience. Uh, And then there's a few other songs that like Peace at the end. A lot of people are starting to like that song. I had to go back and relearn these songs. I used some really unusual chords that I did. I can't remember how I did them. So I'm having to go back and learn the song. It's been like 40 years
Mm,
since I played them, since I even heard them. And one this I got a CD from a journalist of the record, and I haven't heard it in 40 years. And I didn't want to hear it because there were some bad memories with the cult and all of that
mm,
stuff. And feeling like a fool to even be in a cult. And after I've been having this spiritual guidance, then not to follow it and follow a human being. That's what I was cautioned against. Don't trust in the arm of flesh. That's in the Bible. Uh, you don't have to trust the arm of flesh. Now, I like to be a trusting person, and I can trust to a point, and then beyond that, to keep myself from going off balance from somebody else's abuse. That I can lose that. You know, um, I'm trying to find a good example of trusting people. Okay, if somebody screws up, I had a guy who hated bosses. I didn't know that. I hired him. He was a relative. As soon as I was the boss, he started treating me like crap. Unconscious robot. He had no idea. Now, there's Jesus talked about people that are dead, let them bury the dead. He talked about live people as if they were dead. And that's what he meant is that awareness. They don't have that. They're just an empty body floating along. And they can't see themselves. They can't take responsibility. Uh, Life is scary when no control. And here's the thing about control is once you learn to give it up, you have it. If you're on a snowboard and you're flinging your arms around and you're trying to keep your balance, and if you just stop and work with a mountain or surfing, that's even better. You don't go against the wave. Once you catch the wave, you work it. The only control you got is your board. So you control your board, and the wave is a constant, and life is a constant. Don't try and change life. Don't try and change your sex. Go with what you got. Uh, that you're bored, don't give up the board. That's the only thing you got. Your ship. That's the only thing you got. You're the captain. Take a hold of the tiller. Don't just let it go. Uh, that's my message, and that's what I talk about in these kind of things. That's what I have to offer uh, in the short time I've been alive. Is there any other questions?
I think we're gonna have to
Wrap
shut
it up.
it down, but I appreciate you so much for your time today. It has been an incredible interview. I know it was an interview, but I feel like I needed to hear a lot of this stuff myself. So thank you so much. And I will let you know how I'm gonna upload this. I'll send you some emails
Okay.
whenever I get this all done. But